I literally only spent maybe 5.5 years in the streets dealing with drugs because I got locked up, right? And that was the wake-up call. I caught a couple of cases. I ended up in juvenile multiple times. My mother couldn't handle me anymore. So the first thing we did when we came home from prison is went shopping for our next boxes so when we go back to prison.
Wow.
You got to be really mentally
Right.
screwed up
Right.
to know that you're going back to prison. When I kicked the door open, it was a guy in all black with a mask standing there with the gun. And he put the gun in my face and he was shaking. Told me to put my hands up. You know what it is. Put your hands up. I took the box. I threw it up against him because he was standing right in front. I threw it up against him thinking that that would throw him off, and I turned around to run. As soon as I started taking the steps to run,
Hey, what's up, everybody? You're listening to Strategic Moves, the only podcast that don't just discuss survival, we blueprint success. And tonight is joining me as a brother whose story reads like a Hollywood script. So I want to welcome everybody, a visionary of plenty of restaurants and doing big things around Cleveland. Everybody, I want to welcome to our program, Akeem Africa. Thanks, brother, for coming to the program, man. Akeem, your story started in a thriving black-owned hotel. What it was like before the tragedy struck? Were you living in that hotel growing up? And what was the name of the hotel, all our listeners? Because everybody don't know Cleveland like that, so tell everybody.
yeah. So one thing I got to correct, it was the second largest African-American hotel in Cleveland at that time. It wasn't the biggest, it was the second biggest.
What was the largest then?
It was a place off 55th.
Really?
It's famous. I forgot the name. I used to remember it, but it was right below 55th.
Really?
That was the largest, yeah.
Wow.
My dad had the second largest at that time.
Okay.
The Carnegie Hotel.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where was that located at?
On Carnegie.
On Carnegie?
6801 Carnegie Avenue.
Wow, 6801
where
Carnegie.
the radio station and Urban League, not Urban League, Jumpstart is at.
Yes.
So on that corner where the grass is, they infielded, the hotel was right there.
Wow.
It was more narrow and long, and the parking lot was that whole little block right there.
So what was it like growing up in a hotel? How old was you when that happened, man? You know?
He passed away when I was 15.
Okay. Oh, so you had your childhood
Yeah,
growing all up in it.
I literally was born there, and I grew up there literally. Like, I had different, over the 15 years, I stayed in 3 different rooms in the hotel. The older I got, my parents allowed me to go up floors.
Okay.
You know, in the beginning, I was right there with them, right across the hall.
Okay.
And then I was able to go up to floor 2. And then when I got a little older, floor 3, I called that the penthouse. Because it was only maybe 10 or 12 rooms on that floor.
Okay.
So I was able to go out on the roof, you know, not rooftop, what people might think, just the roof.
Just the roof.
The old school roof.
Right, I got you.
But I mean, it's interesting. The closest that I can explain any blaxploitation movie that you can think about, that was the life that I grew up in. Really? All of them. That was my life. That was my life. 68th and Carnegie back then. That was my life. I love, the old, even the reenactment period movies, Harlem Nights. Those are the people that I grew up around every day. My aunts, uncles, my father's friends.
Paint a picture for our audience what it was like growing up in those days back then.
I mean, it was different. For one, in terms of the black community was strong. That's all I really knew. I mean, to be honest, I didn't see a lot of non-African American owned businesses. It was very normal for us to only frequent black-owned businesses 5-6 days a week. Wow. That was very normal. Black grocery stores, black movie theater, black restaurants. It was very normal. All the restaurants we went to, if we ate outside of the hotel, were, I'm not going to say all of them, but it was very normal to frequent majority of them. I mean, imagine we were right down the street from Lancers.
That's correct.
105 where Winston Willis owned his stuff. My dad used to take me up there all the time. I used to go to the movie theater, the restaurants, 3-4 different restaurants up there. I could ride my bike up there from where I was at, and I did plenty of time. So it was just And don't get me wrong, it was a lot of white businesses around, but we
Correct.
just didn't frequent those businesses. We had
didn't have
everything.
to.
We didn't have to.
Didn't have to.
You know, all the corner stores was black owned. The arcade that I went to was black owned that I hung out at. So, which was it worked out in my favor because it became very normal. It was a very normal thing for me to get older and involved in business. I wasn't scared of
Right.
entrepreneurship, business ownership. I wasn't scared to walk that path at all. Actually, it was expected of me to do that.
You know, we did an interview with Dr. Isabel Hardaway.
Okay.
And she was leaving here to actually go interview Winston Willis.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
This was a couple of weeks ago. Last week. Yeah.
Oh man, because the last time I tried to reach out to connect with him, you know, mentally he haven't been there for the last at least 10, 15 years. He was in a
I'm.
Oh no, you know what? Correction.
I was about to say unless.
Correction.
Yeah.
He was going to interview James R. Willis, who's an attorney that knew.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
what it was.
true.
Okay.
I was about to say.
I was about to say because I'm good looking, Latifah.
Yeah,
like that.
I tried to, yeah.
When I heard the Winston Willis, I said, I just heard somebody talking about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I tried to connect with
Okay.
him like probably 12 to 14 years ago.
Okay.
But mentally he was already gone. He had
okay.
lost his
Okay.
mind, you know,
Gotcha.
mind, memory. He was suffering from the disease where you have
Dementia.
memory loss, dementia.
Okay.
And he was in a senior living facility back
Gotcha,
then.
gotcha,
Because
gotcha.
I would have been really mad. If you go to Angie's on Carnegie and you go in our private dining room, I have a picture of him up there.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, yeah. So
Okay.
him and my father was connected. I believe my father was just as big,
Okay.
but my father's stuff was more spread out. Winston Willis, his stuff was kind of narrowed in until that street, 105 between Euclid and Carnegie. He had everything right there. So he made more impact, and because he ruffled a lot more feathers than my dad was a lot more laid back. You know, he was making strategic moves, but he was doing it, you know, more low key, way more
I
low
was
key.
going to ask you. Tell us about your dad, man. Tell he was a businessman, and
Yeah.
so tell us, what was your dad? Hustler, businessman? What was he up?
So it's crazy because if you think about Denzel's role, I mean, there's other black exploitation movies that I can connect him with, but a newer movie that more people would think about and remember, my dad was, and it was the Denzel role with what was it called, American Gangster,
Oh,
but minus the drugs.
okay.
He was 1,000% against drugs, never dealt with drugs. That's all he used to tell me, man. You can do anything in life, legally or illegally, but never get involved with drugs. But the character, the way that Denzel presented himself in that character, the way that he dressed, the way that he moved,
Okay.
the moves that he make in terms of opening up businesses, bringing his whole family up from the South. Literally, that was my dad. My father literally did that. He moved to Cleveland from Memphis, Tennessee, when he was like 19 years old with his father. And within 20 years, he brought up all his brothers and sisters except one. He literally moved them up here to help run all his businesses.
Wow.
And when he passed
huge.
away, all his brothers and sisters had their own
Business.
bars and restaurants and real estate and different things.
Well, what's your best memory of your dad?
Man, one time when I mean, it's not a great one. It's
That's
some,
fine.
it's
It's
you
your
know,
memory.
some
Yeah.
real, some gangsters.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not gonna say it's probably my best. It's so many, but one of them I remember. He got robbed. Walking because he had another home too. My father had two families. I was just his hotel family, me and my mother, you know.
Okay.
But he was also had another family that lived off of Huff.
Okay.
58th and Huff, right? So sometimes he would ride a bike, a little Huffy. I still got that bike. Thank God he had a Huffy, a brown Huffy that he used to ride from the house to the hotel and back and forth sometimes for exercise or whatever. But if you can imagine this, my whole life, I've never in my life seen him with nothing but hard bottom shoes. dress shoes, suit pants, and a suit. Now sometimes he won't do the tie, but he gonna have on suit pants, a button up, collar, hard bottoms. Period. I've seen him play softball before, and that's how he was dressed, running around the bases with some Stacey Adams, suit pants, and the shirt. However he did it. I've never seen him with jeans on, with a sweatshirt, none of that. He was. That's why I said Denzel, an American gangster. That's all you ever seen. That's how he dressed every day. So one time he got robbed, make a long story short, and he came back to the hotel, and the crew start, coming together. And I was just kind of, my mother was like, basically shit about to hit the fan.
Right.
And, within probably less than 5 days, some guys brought his ring and they took off his finger. They took one of his favorite rings that he had brought. They brought the ring back and it still had the finger on it.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that I remember.
That's American gangster.
Oh yeah. So one of the other things that I remember that really stands out when my father had to go and negotiate a deal with the white mob. Or the Irish mob back then. They made a movie about this guy, and him and my dad was beefing.
You talking about
the Irishman.
Danny Kelly.
Yeah,
I got you. Yeah.
So my father got entangled with that because not on the gangster shit, he was on a legitimate business side, but my father was the largest African-American owned vending machine and cigarette machine owner in Cleveland.
Okay.
He owned more vending, pop machines, cigarette machines, and jukeboxes than any other African-American by far.
Wow.
There was nothing even close. When I was 11, 12, he sent me to school to learn how to work on those machines.
Wow.
But they basically told him when he started putting his machines in white businesses as well as black-owned businesses, they told him that, he had to cease and desist, basically. Like he was getting too big for his britches.
Wow.
And he continued to do it. So it was a couple of incidents that happened, but specifically they actually threw a cocktail through the front hotel window. They busted it out and then threw a cocktail into the lobby one night to try to, set fire, send a message. And it had a note attached to it, basically. So he had to make a couple of calls, connect with some people. And I'll never forget, they had set the meeting up down off 71st out by the lake. And him and his crew was getting together to go meet their crew. It was him and 2 or 3 other guys. And I just remember the whole family coming together in the lobby. He took his jewelry off and here, hold my wallet and my ID and different things, and started giving the family hugs. And I didn't really know what was going on. I just knew it was very tense, and I knew he was going to a meeting, and the whole time he was gone, the family just stayed there, huddled around in the lobby, talking, just basically, waiting on him to come back. We didn't have cell phones. Nobody can call the celly to see if everything was okay. We had to literally wait patiently until he pulled back up.
Wow.
And he did. And, he said, he negotiated a deal that some businesses that he wouldn't be able to go in, but he can expand into other businesses. And we continue to do, our thing. Wow. Well, he continued to do his thing.
Sound like he was an incredible guy.
Nah, I mean, absolutely. And I'm definitely not saying it just because he's my father. He was, he definitely, ask anybody, man, any African-American in Cleveland above the age of 60, 70 about the Carnegie, well, at least the ones that came to the city. Every African-American didn't come out to the city, but ask him about the Carnegie Hotel. He owned more after-hour joints than any other African-American other than Winston Willis.
Okay.
That was like I said, him and Winston Willis was neck and neck. Winston Willis just made a bigger name for himself because of all the controversy. He was a very rebellious person. You know what I mean? He let them white people know, I'm me and I'm gonna do what I want to do. My father was more of a person, a politician. He would work behind the scenes and get his things done without ruffling a lot of feathers.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you grew up with him, and you guys lived in a hotel.
Yes.
Seemed like you were really, he was the center of everything that you guys were doing there. Yeah. At 15 years old, and all of that seemed to come to an end of his passing. How did he pass?
Cancer. Yeah,
Okay.
prostate and stomach cancer.
So he
Like,
went through a process, right? He
well,
was that
actually,
sick?
no, man.
No?
Believe it or not, the reality of it is, which was very common, men don't want to go to the hospital.
That's correct.
Even back then, it was worse than it is now, right? He thought he had the flu.
Okay.
And he was fighting the flu, which he thought on his own. Went home, laying down on the couch, ended up basically lingering around the house for about 2 weeks until he got so weak he couldn't even walk. My brother told me the story because he was at his house, and he told me that 2 weeks he was fighting, what he called flu symptoms. And my brother, the last time he had actually seen him, he picked him up off the couch and had to carry him to get into the car.
Wow.
He went into the hospital, Cleveland Clinic. 2 weeks later, he had passed away.
Wow.
The cancer was very aggressive, and it was already taking over his body. About when he thought he was sick, when he thought he had flu symptoms, he really had cancer. I seen him one more time from the time that he left the house and the time he passed away. We went up to Cleveland Clinic. He had a private room up there, this huge suite with one bed in it. And this was in 1985.
Wow.
He had a suite, and we went up to go see him, but he was already so weak. He barely talked. And within probably 5-6 days after that, he was gone.
That it's black folks. We just a strange group of people. How we grow.
Yeah.
Having two families ain't uncommon back in those days.
Yeah, of course,
as
of course.
one might be looking like two families. No, that was a common theme back then.
Absolutely.
And so the question I want to ask you on that is, after the loss, that, for your mom, I have to imagine that going from down the hotel, and now we got to be on our own.
Yeah.
And we're moving into the take me through that process of how you at 15, because now you pretty much you're growing, getting older. Now you're a teenager, and now it's you and your mom, or you got brothers. I didn't.
No, it was just me and my mother. Okay. I had my mother had a son by a previous relationship. He was older than I was, a lot older. When I was 15, he might have been 20, 21, right? And then my brother and sister from my father's other relationship, we wasn't that close back then. I met them because just being at the hotel, they would come down there and my brother, I learned this later because I was too young to remember this, but my brother met me one day, my older brother, Rich, he met me one day, he asked somebody, man, who is this nappy head kid always here when I'm here running around? And they like, what are you talking about? That's your little brother.
Wow.
He like, what do you mean that's my brother?
And what I'm cracking up is because people don't know that's how I used to be.
Yeah, that's how I used to be. Yeah.
Like, wow, really?
Yeah, I'd already met my sister because she used to work at the hotel often, and I guess they introduced us.
Wow.
But I didn't know him. I'm like, who is this guy to keep coming down here, Wow. And then we connected, but we never really got a real bond.
I understand.
You know what I mean? Until later in life, we actually bonded after my father passed away. And me and him, we're closer than my brother with my mom. You know what I mean? So, and I'm close to my sister too. So that happened later on our own, But so to make a long story short, my father passed away, and unfortunately, man, he had no preparation plan, no post plan for his pass. He didn't have a will.
That's what
he didn't have a trust. He didn't have anything. And unfortunately, he was the brains behind it all. He was the power behind it all. So he had his brothers and sisters and nephews that was strategically placed in position. But unfortunately, he didn't really give them all the game and all the knowledge and all the hustle that he had. He was the nucleus behind the whole family. So unfortunately, man, I mean, no exaggeration, within 1 year, we had pretty much lost everything.
Everything.
Yeah, everything, because he wasn't teaching them how to really run the business. It was maybe one aunt, maybe two that was getting a lot of game. But because things fell apart, it was a lot of family fighting amongst them because he never said who was the second person in command, and they were all fighting for that position, and within fighting for that position, they tore the whole kingdom down. Yeah, so we ended up on welfare, downtown in the line, getting stamps, getting government cheese. I had to, through the summer, we had to go get the big blocks of cheese. Every month, once a month, you had to go to the local church and line up. We went to East Woodland Estates, 75th and Woodland, 7512 Dale.
Okay.
That's where we lived at. Our rent was, because we were getting assistance, like $50 a month. You know what I mean? But that's where I went to. So I had to make adjustments really quick. And I did it.
So those adjustments down there, you 15, 16, you were in school down there, you had to go to different school?
Yeah. I actually had to, my mother kept me in the same school for a while, but then I switched up. Because I went from James Ford Rose to West Tech, but I only survived there for maybe one day because I'm from a different neighborhood. So them dudes, you know how it was back in the 80s.
Right,
I was in a different neighborhood. I was repping a different neighborhood by that point. So that didn't work out. Then I went to another school. I might have survived a couple hours at John Adams. That didn't work out because I was from a different neighborhood, and I repped my neighborhood.
Right.
Before then, I ended up at Max Hayes. And when I say Max Hayes, I'm talking about Max Hayes Auxiliary.
Oh, no,
the annex.
You didn't go to Max.
Nah. I'm talking about.
Well, it was right next door to
it was right next door, but it was a totally different situation.
And I'll put out, I went there.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. I knew it. When you said the annex, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, the annex.
We knew
Totally
everybody who went to the annex know why you were at the annex.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately, I bounced, man. My father, like I said, he was growing up, he was totally against drugs.
Right.
And I ended up dealing with drugs almost immediately, because that was the easy money. The people that I seen my age that was getting money, they were all selling drugs.
Okay.
And I jumped into the drug game before 99% of guys my age, because I was from a different neighborhood. My father owned an apartment building on 131st and Savec.
Okay.
So we spent time there. The whole family lived in the building. Literally every unit in the building was a family member. So when I wasn't at the hotel, I was there at that building.
Okay.
And I was bringing that Midtown mindset, totally different mindset from here, 55th,
Okay.
right? Carnegie, 79th, Euclid, Cedar. I was bringing that to 131st. So dudes wasn't on the drugs then. So the first time I was selling drugs, I was selling powder, $25. We would fold up in a piece of paper, and we was making a move. So my neighborhood, they wasn't hip to that. They like, what's this? But the guys from down the way, they was already into that. So it was like bringing it to a whole new city, and I excelled very quickly, very fast.
It's just amazing because it's just like what you said.
Yeah.
If anybody who understand it back in those days, it's just like what you said. It went just like how you said, and it popped just like how you said. And,
absolutely.
And to the detriment of a whole lot of stuff.
Nobody knew.
But yes,
my father knew though, because he always said, drugs weakens our people. Because he was already being exposed to drug addicts doing what he do, dealing with, that's who robbed him, a drug addict. People, he was one of the biggest loan sharks in Cleveland, so people used to bring their
your dad
cars.
was doing every damn thing.
Every
time you say something, you found out something else he was doing.
He did everything legal and illegal except drugs. Except drugs. I mean, he ran numbers. I mean, he was the numbers guy. He was a professional gambler. He was a loan shark. He was doing a little pimping. He invested, went pimp. That was all his friends. Everything illegal. We had, listen, man, he had rooms of guns, rooms of TVs, rooms of electronics. He had a parking lot full of cars that people would bring him that he would loan money on. Anything you can name in terms of that. But all his businesses, a hotel, after-hour joints, apartment buildings, houses, game rooms, arcades. you know,
and you
he
and
did
mom
that
didn't
too.
get nothing after that.
Nothing, not one thing, nothing but information and knowledge and game. Not when I say nothing, we didn't get nothing from it, nothing, because I was the black sheep. My mother was the black
I
sheep.
understand. I understand.
You know what I
I
mean?
understand. Right.
She was the side piece,
That's
basically.
correct.
He
That's
didn't
correct.
recognize. Everybody else in that world knew
Recognized.
that
Right.
that was his girl, but.
Right.
The other lady was also his girl. You know, both of them was equally his people. You know what I mean? Because he spent majority of his time at the hotel in the Either Hour joint. My mother was the one that was more acknowledged as his woman. So, but the family didn't acknowledge that when
correct.
he passed away.
That's correct.
You know what I mean? But to be quite honest, they didn't give her his other woman that much acknowledgement either. It was all about them.
The family.
His brothers and sisters.
Okay, I got you.
It wasn't his other wife and kids. It was his brothers and sisters that pretty much completely took everything, and they fought amongst themselves because they were very close. He had a very close knit situation with his brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
You know.
And I would guess, and I was going to ask you this later, but I'll ask you now. I know you learned from all the stuff that you're doing now, that preparation and all the other stuff, you know, you'll never take your family to.
I had a will at 28 years old.
Right.
Yeah, I had a will at 28. I had my trust done at 39.
Because you got a lot of shit too.
Yeah.
Now you probably done surpassed what your dad been doing as it relates to that. So yeah, you need to make sure.
You
gotta have your stuff together. Absolutely. Let's talk about this the situation that landed you going to jail. Yeah, you went to prison or did you end up going to jail?
Prison.
You went to prison. That's what
jail first, then
in prison. Right, you did time, right?
Yeah, I got 14 and a half years in prison.
Ah, so you did go. You went to prison.
Okay,
all right. So tell me what happened.
Yeah, so I'll summarize it as quickly as I can. Sure. Like I said, when we ended up in the projects, my father passing away, I got involved with the streets heavy, drugs, car theft, every you know, a lot of stuff that he was involved with, and a lot of new things that I learned. So to make a long story short, from the age of 15, literally before I turned 16, I was already selling drugs. He died very early on, around when I turned 15. By 17, 18, that would have took you up to 87, 88. I was already, neck deep into the streets, and I was known for that. I was one of the younger guys that started very early getting money, driving fly cars, wearing the jewelry, doing that. But I literally only spent maybe 5.5 years in the streets dealing with drugs because I got locked up. Right. And that was the wake up call. I caught a couple of cases. I ended up in juvenile multiple times. My mother couldn't handle me anymore because my dad was the discipline, the guy that brought the discipline, And
he died when you was 15.
And when he passed,
right.
I started sticking my chest out on my mother. That's correct. And she, the couple of times I got caught up, they called her like, hey, you gonna come get him? She like, nah, he need to stay there because at least I know where he at. And I can sleep good at night knowing he was there.
What kind of trouble you was getting into that they were calling?
I was stealing cars. One of the first things, one of my first hustles, because my father sent me to school to learn how to work on video games and vending machines. So I don't know those that remember Randall Mall. They used to have one of the biggest arcades on the east side of Cleveland. Correct. I was raping them. I was going in, me and my crew was going in there literally every other day, emptying out all the machines. How? And the people that owned it didn't know. How? Because
it's over with now. You can tell us how you was doing it.
My dad had sent me to school how to do this. So I would go in, my guys would be in there playing the video game, and I would slide between the two machines and slide to the back, pop the lock open.
You really going in there?
Yeah, pop the lock open in a way that they don't know. Reach in, fill up our bags, put it right back. And go to the next one. So we was going in there, killing them, emptying out the machines on the regular. And they would never even know. So it would not disrupt their business at all, other than their money was getting short.
Let me tell you something. Yeah. Y'all was doing big time criminal shit. Listen to how we robbed the arcade. We we took a quarter
Yeah.
and pasted on some string.
Yeah.
You remember the dude who sit
Yeah, of
there
course. Yeah.
and stand
Breaking
next
it.
to the machine and
Yeah.
be like, "Give me your money."
Yeah. Of
That was
course.
when you was in there actually getting the
Oh
money.
no, yeah. I was clearing before I turned 16. I was clearing
Woo.
at least $200-300 a week from the vending machines.
Whoa.
Yeah. But the problem we were too greedy.
Okay.
If we would have lightened up, it could have lasted a lot longer, right?
Wow.
One day, our regular day, we went out there, me and my crew, it was 2-3 of us. We went out there to shoot our regular. When we went in, we was doing our 1-2, and I noticed security guards that came in and stood by the door, and they had set us up. They was waiting on us to come back.
They wait.
Yeah,
Okay,
they was
okay,
waiting on us
okay,
to come
okay,
back. I
okay.
never forget this day. It was like it was like 3 of us total, 4 of us total, right? Me and my 3 crew members, we went in there shooting doing what we regularly do, and we seen the security guards come in and stand on both sides. I'm like, man, that's different. Something's going on. But we still doing what we do, right?
Wow.
Next thing you know, the gates start closing. And my dude yelled out, "It's a setup." And we start running, trying to get out. When we tried to run to the gate was closed. Security standing there. We went through the back door. I never knew this. All the time I spent around the mall behind every store in there. It's a back hallway, a tunnel that connects every store.
Wow.
We ran through the back door. They didn't expect that. And we hit the tunnels, and we running through the tunnels trying to figure out how to get out the mall.
Wow.
And we made our way out of there.
Okay.
And when we popped out on the Miles side, which I normally never went, and ran over that hill and ran down Miles and jumped on the first 19 that came through there, and we got away.
Wow.
But we knew we was burnt. So it's crazy. Another situation. So I was doing that. So that was dead. I stopped doing that, and I started getting into the car theft thing because I knew how to steal cars with my dad.
Because mechanisms and all of that.
Well, I learned because my dad used to bring these cars in, and people used to pawn these cars to him.
Wow.
And he'll have 4 or 5 cars in the back of the hotel lined up, right? And I used to go and steal them and drive because he didn't know. I would drive during the day when he wasn't there, or in the middle of the night, ride around the neighborhood and bring it back.
Wow.
So that's how I learned how to steal cars. And I took that to my neighborhood, to 131st area, and we started stealing cars. And we had built up a ring.
You bought drugs to the hood. You bought car theft to the hood, man. Good Lord.
I'm not going to say I brought the drugs to the hood, but I participated very early on.
Wow.
I participated very early on, but I brought stealing cars to my crew
and
drugs to my crew.
Yeah.
The guys that, I was around my neighborhood, my street. Nobody was doing it before me, my age group.
Wow.
Yeah, so the same thing when we started stealing cars, I connected like people used to steal cars for joy. No, we had to connect that we had a chop shop.
Oh, y'all was
they used to
actually
buy the
doing
cars, so they
chopping,
used to actually give me a list of cars that they wanted,
Woo.
and we used to go out and get them and bring them back.
Gone in 30 seconds. Well, it was gone in 60 seconds.
Yeah, gone in 60 seconds. So when I was 16, we were part of a large network of cars that it was in the paper back in '86. We was part of that network that they had set us. The guy that actually owned the chop shop, it caught a case.
Okay.
And he he tried to set all of us up to work a deal back then, and I was in '86. And luckily, we got away. We had pulled up one day. He gave us a list and said, we need this Corvette, this, a Blazer, blah, blah, blah. And when we got the cars, when we pulled up, he said, I don't want anything. Leave. And we like, well, what are you talking about? You told us to go out and get this. A white dude down on Etna off 93rd. He said, we like, man, something ain't right. Well, what's going on? He like, man, get off my lot. Right in there. So we pulled out. We 3 cars deep. We pulled out, and we made that right out of his junkyard. He had a junkyard up Etna. And when we got to the first stoplight, police car came from the right, one came from the left. We looked in the rear view, another car. So my dude was at the stop sign. He like, You know, you got a police car at the stop sign. You don't know, do you go or you let them
Right.
go? And he was hesitant. I'm like, he don't know. This is a setup.
Right.
You can't make a wrong move in this situation.
Right.
So I hit the gas and went around him, and we went on a high-speed chase
Woo.
throughout the city for about an hour, hour and a half.
Whoa.
Yeah, we all ended up getting away, though.
What?
Yeah. We was 3 cars deep with probably 2 to 3 people in each car, and we all ended up getting away. And you'll see it if you Google the story. A couple of my other guys, one guy that he wasn't in our crew, he was in another crew. He ended up getting killed in a high-speed chase.
Wow.
The cops ended up shooting him. Yeah, and that was back in '86.
Wow.
Yeah, they had a bigger crew though off Miles that was doing it, and they was doing it a lot longer than we were.
Wow.
They were a little older than us too, but like our average age was 16, 17. They were like 20, 21, you know.
So what got you knocked to do 14?
Well, actually, I
Or
got
all of
14 and a
this
half
was
total.
Just total, because
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
over.
So
Okay.
my first time, not including the 14 and a half, I did juvenile time. So that was all car theft, all car auto theft in my teens. I never caught a drug case in my life, ever.
Really?
Yeah. All auto theft as a juvenile. And then my first case as adult was aggravated felonious assault. I shot somebody. And then I, did 19 months. I came home and went right back a year later for I got caught with a gun. And then I came home and got caught with another gun.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did, as an adult, 14 and a half years between state and federal. So the first one was state, the first 2 was state, and the last one was federal.
So the last time
Yeah.
you went in and you got out, is that when you changed your name?
Believe it or not, I changed my name the second time in.
Okay.
I
What was
changed
that
my
all
name
about?
and my life. What do you mean, the case or me
No,
changing my name?
you changed your name and
I changed my life. I
Okay.
changed my life, man. Because the last time I ever sold drugs, I was 20, 21 years old when I completely got out the streets. I got out a lot sooner than most people. You don't hear about somebody walking away from the streets
No.
at 2021
Right.
because I got in so early. And probably in the back of my mind that thought that I wasn't making my father proud at all. I was doing literally the opposite of everything that he had told me to do. That was
Okay.
lingering in the back of my mind. I knew I was a real hustler.
Okay.
I knew I was different from most people my age because my hustle was diverse. Most young people at that age, if they're doing something in the streets, that's all they're doing. But I knew that I adapted to many different hustles very easily. I truly define myself as a hustler. And I just needed to sit down and really evaluate my life in that situation. And I just, it was easy for me to say, man, this hustle that I got, this drive I got, I can do it legally. And I did. So really the second time I went to prison, I did 6.5 years. And during that time, I commit to changing my life. I changed my name and I changed my walk in life. The way that I thought about life and everything that I was doing. I changed it during that time. I started focusing on the legal hustle.
So what made you pick that name?
It's a crazy story. I'll try to summarize it, but doing a lot of prayer, a lot of studying of religion. At one point in my life, I was an avid Christian. At one point in my life, I was an avid Muslim. I studied other religions. I studied every book that I could, every culture that I could. I mean, I've read thousands and thousands of books. But when I decided that I wanted to walk away from who I was perceived at that point in my life, at 21, 22, I was perceived as that guy in the streets. That guy that would, everything you can think about street related, I wanted to completely disassociate myself with that person.
Okay.
That I spent years making a name for myself in the streets. I wasn't proud of that anymore. I didn't like the connection that it brought me. So when I started doing some research, I knew I didn't want a Muslim name or a Arabic name, which most Muslims pick. I knew I didn't want that. I knew I wanted to get back to the essence of who I was as an African American, an African that was in America. I started narrowing it down to that. And believe it or not, to make a long story short, I came up with the name Akin Yami. Akin is actually Yami means fated to be, and the king means warrior, fated to be a warrior, born to be a warrior. I just spent a lot of time meditating on it, and it just came to me. Alifin means a king, and Africa. I just wanted, at that time, everybody was trying to run away from being associated with being African descendant.
Right.
I wanted to run to it.
Okay.
If y'all rebellion, y'all want to be Mike Jones and
Right.
pick all these white people name and act like we white. We're not. You know what I mean? We in the white America, but we're African descendants. I wanted to represent that to the fullest. I'm a rebellious person by nature.
Okay.
And I walk my own walk. And I've never, every gang that I've ever been in, I was the leader of that gang. I've never just been a member. You know what I mean? And that's what I chose. So I did a lot of studying, and believe it or not, it's crazy, man. My name is Akin Yami Alifin Africa. We talking about almost 20 years later, when I finally did African ancestry.
Okay.
The name that I picked was Yoruba. When I did African ancestry, I came to find out my father's bloodline is Yoruba.
So you right on track.
I was right on track. So that even let me know even more that I was walking in my true path.
Excellent.
I was walking in my true path. So
you
that
had
was something I was very proud of.
So you had a chance to take in some deep meditation to really find. I like what you said about and changing the name. Is like you say, I'm leaving all that other stuff behind. I don't want to come out here the same person that I was when I got out of here, because I want to do something new and I want to start something. How does that connect your family to Angie Soul Food? And that's your aunt, or what's the relationship, and how that you getting out? Is that the next progression? Was getting into that? So take us through that.
No, actually, so to make a long story short, my mother was a cook at the Carnegie Hotel, my father's hotel.
Okay.
Cooking was in her blood. We're from, my mother's side of my family is from South Carolina.
Okay.
A small town called Santuc, outside of Union. A really small town. That's where my mother's lineage came from. After we left Africa, was in South Carolina. My grandfather was born into slavery. My grandfather, he was raised into slavery, and his parents had got their freedom, and therefore he had got his freedom.
Okay.
And they had actually worked their way to own land. So my grandfather, once he got older, became one of the largest landowners in Santuc, South Carolina. He had one of the biggest families, and he was one of the biggest landowners. He was a farmer. That I've done a lot of research on this. I probably, as you can tell from my conversation, like the census, how many chickens and cows and different things he had. And when my mother was born in 1939, that's how they found out who was what. They used to go around and knock on people's door and take the information down. And I actually got copies of that information from the federal census report when they went to my father's house. What kids lived in the house, what people lived in the house, how many animals they had on the farm, and what ages they were.
That's deep.
I actually have copies of that. So to make a long story short, my mother knew how to cook. She was raised on the farm where they did everything from scratch. If you wanted rabbit, you went out there and grabbed the rabbit and wrung his neck and hung him up and stripped his hair down and put him in the pot and cooked him. If you wanted squirrel, that's what you did. Deer, cows, chicken. They had to go out and milk the cow to get the milk. And I was blessed to spend a lot of summers there growing up, even when my father was alive at the hotel. So for 4 or 5 years, I spent my summers in South Carolina. As soon as school was out, I got dropped off in South Carolina.
Wow.
So I was able to shoot my first gun there, milk my cow. If I wanted fish, I had to go fish for my fish and come back and scale it and cook it. So that was the environment that my mother grew up in. So when my father had the hotel, she started cooking in the hotel, elevating the food. and she had become known as the best soul food cook at the hotel.
Okay.
Because before my mother, he did what everybody else did. They cooked just American cuisine.
Right.
They had some T-bone steaks, some porterhouse steaks,
Right.
some coleslaw, some potato salad, some mashed potatoes. That's what they had on the menu. But my mother brought the mac and cheese, the collard greens, the black eyed peas, the pintos, the pork chops, the fried chicken. She brought that to the forefront, and she had became known as the soul food cook down there. That's where I'm sure you've heard of the Cleveland Round Table.
That's correct.
Well, that's where they started at.
The Carnegie Round Table.
That's where they started at. That's why it's named the Carnegie Round Table.
When you just said it, I said the
yeah.
Carnegie Round Table.
It's named the Carnegie Round Table because that's where they started at the Carnegie Hotel.
Dr. Jordan.
Yes.
Dr.
That's
Jordan,
where they started at.
That was
Absolutely.
his thing. Dr. Jordan used to be all on that.
So in the dining room, it was a round table where they sat at every day, Monday through Friday for lunch.
That's correct.
And they talked strategic, political moves.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You're good. You are so correct.
Yeah,
on
the
that,
Carnegie
man.
Hotel. That's where they started. So unfortunately, when my dad died, the hotel broke up. My mother had to go get a job. I mean, that broke up and they went to different places. My mother had to go get a job. So she went to go get a job at a factory. She worked third shift. So I'll never forget, I used to go to sleep. She was packing up to go to work. She'll come in the house right before I had to go to school the next morning. She started, because people knew who she was and what she can do, her first hustle was making dinners and selling them on third shift at the factory.
Wow.
So she used to come home right before the factory job, cook all night, pack them up in individual boxes, I used to have to put the labels on there, who food it was, and then carry the cardboard box and put it in the trunk of her car, and she'll take the food to people at the Western End. So she did that for about a year until she saved up enough money to open up her first restaurant, Angie Soul Food. So that's my mother.
That's your mom?
Yeah, that's my mother.
Oh.
Yeah.
All this time, I did not, and you know what? I know your mom.
Yeah.
That was crazy about it, because we was eating in there. I did all their other spots, but the one I usually did the most was when y'all was over on St. Clair.
No, not St. Clair.
Wasn't that St. Clair?
No.
Who was on St. Clair?
Nah, that place was called Angela's.
That wasn't your spot. No, it was
connection.
another. We was going to Angie Soul Food.
Not on St. Clair.
Angie Soul Food was on. Let me get it right. You guys your new spot is on Carnegie.
Yeah, but
you had a spot before that. That's where
my mother had 6 different places.
So tell us where she was on. Cause I gotta figure out the one I was at.
So the first restaurant that she actually opened was on 71st in an old school hotel between Euclid and Carnegie called Burrell's.
Okay, no, it wasn't that one.
Yeah, so it was an old school motel.
Okay.
And she just used to cook out of there.
So
the Round Table came back there for the 2 years that she was there.
It wasn't on Euclid.
Hold on, I'm about to tell you. So she left there and then went to Euclid. She went to 58th and Euclid in Tax Lounge.
Which it was over here.
It was also like a little $10 motel, but she was on the ground floor. So Tax Lounge was next door, and she was on the corner of 58th and Carnegie. The building is gone now, obviously.
Gone now, right?
Yeah, but she was right there. And that's when she cranked it up, because we were able to have like a cafeteria style presentation when you come down the line and see your mac and cheese and your greens. Everything that needed to be cooked came out the back, and then you pick your sides.
Okay.
And you can sit down. So she was there about a year and a half until the building caught fire.
Okay.
Then she left there and went to 55th, right next door. Yeah, that's where she became popular.
Right.
Yeah, that's 5410 Euclid.
The Agora.
Huh?
Across
the street from the Agora. Across the street from the
Right.
Agora.
And that's
She
what
was in
Doc
that
and them
building.
wanted to try to bring back the round table
They
meetings
brought
and
it back
stuff.
there. It was in the back.
That's what I'm saying. I'm about to say, I know I was going there. Okay.
Yeah,
All right, there it is.
So that's where she got her popularity at.
Okay.
That's where she became the infamous soul food queen.
Gotcha.
So she was there probably around 10 years.
Gotcha.
In that building.
Okay.
It was a raggedy little spot.
Yes.
But had to fire soul food.
Yes, yeah.
Not only because of the round table, because all the African American judges and politicians and attorneys used to come there for lunch every day. And then she really got cranking because the gore was jumping in.
That's
So
correct.
all the black artists and celebrities that came to Cleveland, they would come across the street to eat.
That's correct.
And then the Indians was jumping with my guy Kenny Lofton.
Yes.
And he used to frequent Angie's.
Really?
Frequent Angie's. He was at Angie's on the regular. So that's how we got connected to the Indians, and we used to feed the Indians. We used to have to go when they was eating, when they were playing here or playing in Cincinnati, whatever. We would meet the bus before they drove to Cincinnati with all their lunch.
Wow.
Yeah. And this was back in the early 90s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because I wasn't sure the connection. And I used to see her all the time. We used to buy food. Me and my wife used to get our dressing and stuff like that for the holidays for her and all of that.
For sure.
And that's what I spoke to her many and many times. I just never knew that was your mom.
Yeah,
wow.
that's my mother. She's still here, still alive. Too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So from there, how did Zanzibar come about?
Yeah. So just to be honest, Zanzibar came about. Before Zanzibar, I had another place called Carolinas.
Yes, I remember.
So that was my place.
Yes.
And it simply came about because my mother told me I couldn't do it.
Oh, okay.
She told me I could. That's one thing. That's just my spirit. When somebody tell me I can't do it, I try to prove them wrong.
That's great.
Definitely with my mother and my father, I always wanted to make them proud and show them I can be exactly what they wanted me to be. My father was very adamant about when we had the hotel and I used to be in the kitchen working, because I started working in the hotel obviously very young, working the desk. So I was the desk operator. When you see them old school movies, when somebody called the hotel, thank you for calling Carnegie Hotel, how can I help you? I need room 203. I used to have to take the plug and plug it into the wall to connect with 203. And I used to listen to all the calls. You know what I mean? That's just a natural thing. My father was one of the first hotels to have cable service.
Wow.
And the tapes. So back then, you know, they was watching adult movies.
Right.
So I was the one that was putting in the tapes when they would stop. I was the one checking people into the room. And I was 11, 12 years old. When you come in to check in, let me see your ID. I would have to make a copy of it, fill out the card. You know, he used to rent by the hour too.
Wow.
So you get a 4-hour room or you get overnight. Different prices. So I used to check them out. So he was very intentional about that. So when I used to go in the kitchen, naturally, I wanted to learn how to cook. My mother used to be on the line cooking the big pot of greens. He was very adamant, told my mother, no, I don't want him to learn how to cook. I want him to learn how to run a business.
Wow.
That time, you know how to cook. Y'all got enough cooks in the family. We can get a cook a dime a dozen. But I need to teach him the business side. So I didn't know that then, before my father died, that he used to plant that seed with my mother. I didn't know that.
Okay.
He never told me that. My mother told me that when she opened up her first restaurant on Euclid in Tax Lounge, when I used to be on trying to learn, hey, teach me how to do this.
Right.
And she pulled me aside and said, listen, your father was very adamant about me never teaching you how to cook. So I'm going to follow his wishes. You need to learn the business. Go out there and find me the cheapest bread. Find me the cheapest milk. Keep my books. Pay my bills. Learn how to run this business. Go work the cash register. Go stop all them girls from stealing all my money. Create systems to help me do that. And that's what I did.
So what happened to Carolinas?
So how Carolinas came about, I wanted to open up an Angie's. That was the original plan. And my mom, you can't run no restaurant. You really didn't pay attention when I was trying to give you the game. You never learned, right? And I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I actually owned before Carolinas, my first legal hustle when I came home from prison after I changed my life was selling clothes out the trunk of my car.
Okay.
So I used to run in New York 5 days a week. That's actually around the time me and Latif met. So I used to run in New York, literally 4 or 5 times a week, drive up there, hit Canal Street, get the purses, the belts, the hats, the shirts, the hoodies, all that, bring it back, sell it. Then I started getting into the fake jewelry, the DVDs and different things. And I parlayed that. I became known. I worked that to the point that I moved me and my mother out the projects off of that. On 147th and Barlett, I bought a 2-family house. My mother lived down and I moved upstairs. My living room was a clothing store.
Wow.
So people used to come over 24/7 before they going out to the club and get dressed in my living room and pay me, right? And then I used to bring the store to your house. When the girls was getting dressed, putting on their makeup at the house, I can bring duffel bags of clothes, and they used to go through whatever
I remember
they
those
bought.
days.
Yeah,
That was a serious hustle. People was doing
yeah.
that for real.
So I was doing that, and I parlayed that into opening up a clothing store, the Urban Closet on Chagrin.
Okay.
Lee and Chagrin in Shaker Heights, right next to Best Steak and Gyro House. That's how I got it. I was selling clothes. I went to Gyro's one night, and while I was waiting on my food, I went outside, and I turned around, and I seen a Felice sign. And I'm like, man, I could open up a clothing store here. And 3 months later, I opened up my first clothing store.
Wow.
And then I opened up another clothing store. So I had one there on Chagrin, I had one on Lakeshore. So I was doing pretty good. And then the fur game came back. So everybody was wearing furs.
Right.
And I was printing money then because I actually partnered with one of my guys, one of my mentors, and started a fur company. So I actually was manufacturing furs and I was designing them.
Really?
Yeah. So the most popular, like Gerald Levert bought one of my furs and went on tour with it. And he blew me up. So a lot of his friends wanted furs. So I was sending the fur coats to other artists through people. Like at that point, I had a friend named Lisa. She was doing concerts. She was a promoter. So I would send her furs when Snoop Dogg would come in town. He did a commercial for the Urban Closet in exchange for a fur coat.
Wow.
Right? Snoop, he was probably the most popular, but it was a lot of other artists at that time. Not Aaliyah, what was the other girl out of New York? Ashanti.
Okay.
You know, what's the other one I gave a coat to? She did a commercial to Alicia Keys.
Okay.
Alicia Keys back then when they was jumping. I met Destiny's Child when they was still Destiny's Child. You know, they wouldn't do a commercial for me, but I got a chance to connect to them. So I started that. I blew up the clothing store. Things was going well with that, especially with the fur coats. I took that money and bought my first commercial property, which was the old Juvenile on
I remember
Harvard.
that. Yeah.
And then I converted it over to called Carolina, Southern Cuisine. Then I had Evolutions right next door as the bar. So that was, I bought that property cash, opened my bar, everything, no debt, everything.
You know what? When you start saying that, I remember all of that.
Yeah,
I remember, matter of fact, I remember when you first opened it up because everybody was like, come on, let's go over there and all of that. Because then you talked about the business. You just flashed me back. I remember pulling in the parking lot of all of that. That was, you have owned a lot of businesses around, man. Won't you, because I got a lot of questions. We've been sitting here a while. I'm going to just send us through the gauntlet, man. How many businesses, right? We stopped at Carolinas, then roll me down. Let's go through it. Let's go through it. What you got going?
The first business that I had an Angie's downtown inside the Millennium.
Okay.
So the Angie's that was in the Millennium nightclub downtown was my Angie's. That was my first one. And then I opened up the Urban Closets. I had 2 Urban Closets. Then I had Carolina Southern Cuisine. Then I opened up the lounge called Evolutions. I ended up going to prison because while I had the clothing store, because remember, I changed my life, changed my name. I was on 100% legitimate, but I was still carrying guns.
That was PO?
Right? Yeah.
I got you. That was because your parole, you was supposed to
no,
have
well, I wasn't on parole, but I wasn't allowed. Once you convicted as a felon back then, you're not allowed to carry guns.
That's what I was trying to say, yeah.
So I was still carrying guns. Somebody broke in one of my clothing stores one night, the one on Chagrin, and took a bunch of fur coats and some other clothes, and I caught the guy. Make a long story short, I ended up going back to prison as a convicted felon, what they call it, under disability. I wasn't allowed to carry guns, so I had to go back to federal. They made it federal this time because where I got caught was a highly strong drug area on 154th and Kinsman. 153rd and Kinsman and Mr. V's. It was under surveillance by the federal government. I didn't realize that. So I caught a case. That's where I caught the guy at with all my stuff. I ended up going back to prison doing 5.5 years. Yeah, and it's literally at my sentencing, the judge said, you've done everything that we ask for a returning citizen to come back out here and get their life together. But you made a critical mistake. Instead of trying to take the power into your own hands, you should have called 911 like any sensible, person would have done. But that was the old me trick. I'm still me to a certain degree. You know what I mean? Just because I'm not in the streets, I still had the streets in me. You know what I mean? And I felt like I had a name that I still had to protect, even though I wasn't in the streets. I was around people that was in the streets, and that's where I had life messed up at. They call it straddling the fence. I don't know if you ever heard that.
I heard that before.
Yeah, that's people that still got one foot in the streets and one foot legitimate. And so many people make that mistake by straddling the fence. You got to pick. You got to pick one.
That's right.
Either you're going to be on this side or on that side. I was straddling the fence, and it led me back to prison again. So imagine being a successful businessman. I had Carolinas. I owned real estate at that time. I had the BMW. I had the Cadillac truck. I had the motorcycle. I had money in the bank and got to go do 5.5 years in prison. But I'm one of those type of guys too. If you're gonna give me lemons, I'm making lemonade. I don't look at the glass half empty. I look at the glass half full. That's my position in life every chance I get. So I ended up going back to prison after I opened up Carolinas and Evolutions, and I got busy immediately. I didn't waste any time. For me, it was like college.
Really?
I picked up where I left off at.
Okay.
Books, reading, changing my life, taking my mental state to the next level, taking my spirit and my perspective in life to the next level.
So tell me what that means. I hear you saying that. What that
means that I didn't waste 1 second for those 5.5 years. Not 1 second. Not one. Anybody that knows me, anybody that know what I went through, anybody that knew me in prison, they'll tell you. I didn't waste not 1 second hanging out at the at lunch talking about the streets. I didn't waste 1 second walking the yard talking about the streets and who I used to be and what I used to have. I never read one fiction book. I only read nonfiction. And I literally bathed in books from one book to the next. I was reading 3 books a week sometimes. Period. That's all I did. Any conversations we had in there, it was about positivity, politics, world economics, real estate, investments. That's all we talked about. Those are the only people that I dealt with. And I hustled. You know what I mean? That's all I did in prison. So that's when I say I didn't waste 1 second, man, them 5.5 years. And believe it or not, every time I see my older attorney, he's a judge now, Judge Saffold, and I helped him get elected, obviously. I always tell him the best thing that ever happened to me was going back to prison that last time. And we debate about that all the time because he felt like I would have been who I was if I didn't. But I stand corrected that there's no way I would have.
You're the only one can answer that question. Because I want to debate you on that too, but you truly the only person who really can answer that question and know, because you know yourself better than anybody else.
Yeah, it was the best thing I ever did because I was doing good in life, and I didn't know that I could have been doing much better. It was still information that I was lacking.
You're 100% because you are doing so much better.
Oh, much better.
And like you said, if you would have started it even earlier,
Absolutely.
If you would have,
I would have been further ahead in life.
Okay,
if I would have never wasted little time that I wasted in the streets dealing with the BS money.
Right.
Because that's BS money.
Right.
You know, a long time ago, I took the position, I looked at drug dealers and I just kind of giggled. Like they don't even know. That ain't no real money.
No.
You know what I mean? They can't really change their whole family life from that little money.
No.
And that's no disrespect.
Hey, hold on.
You know,
and I hate to say it this way, especially today's drug dealer.
Yeah.
Today's drug, because what you were saying, even back then, I talk about it, and I don't want to say it in a glorified way, but hustlers was making money.
Yeah,
they was making.
But they was making what we perceived to be money at that
time. That's
that
all I'm
wasn't no
trying.
real
No,
money.
that's what I'm saying. It wasn't real money.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
even there, compared to now,
Yeah.
where I see
brothers
who out there
they
all
was
day,
making real
man, they're
money
not
then.
out there
Yeah,
making. These dudes on the street, I
Oh,
don't even
yeah.
understand
No,
why
I can laugh at them.
Yeah, that's
if
crazy.
you still a drug dealer in 2025, I don't do nothing but laugh. You know what I
don't
mean?
understand that.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
for sure. No, it's laughable. So
you left off at Carolinas. Run us through the gauntlet.
So I had Carolinas, but I still had that case pending when when I actually opened Carolinas.
Wow.
Jeff was my attorney, and I asked him, like, man, I don't really know what to do. I'm in this gray area in my life. I might be going to prison. I might not. I don't know what to do. I'm successful. I got money, but what do I do with the money? And he literally told me, man, live your life. Live your life like you're not going to prison, and then it'll work itself out. So I did. I bought the building. I opened up Carolinas. Things was going good. And exactly a year later, after I opened Carolinas, they told me I lost my appeal. I had to go to prison. So I ended up going to prison. And again, imagine having a successful business out there, but I'm in prison and everybody knew it. It just made me focus even more, right? But I lost everything while I was going to prison because, again, I was me. I was my father. I was the person.
What we say, black folks.
Exactly. I didn't give
folks.
everybody the game. So I ended up losing the business, but it just motivated me even more. It motivated me even more because I had a taste of that legitimate life. And I knew just with the information I had, what I was able to make happen with just that information. If I feed myself a lot more information, what I can do with it. Because I got the hustle. The hustle was just getting more aggressive and more focused. And that's what I did, man. I came home broke with nothing, zero, and lost everything. And I told my girl at that time, just give me a year. Just give me 1 year. And my first hustle, to make a long story short, was selling products off Craigslist, on Craigslist. So I would buy stuff on Craigslist and resell it on Craigslist.
That's a serious God.
I
never heard nobody do that one before.
I made my first $60,000 profit in less than 6 months doing that on Craigslist.
Wow.
Yeah, and the hustle is still there. It's still alive.
Yeah, I know. Cause I looked the other day to see if Craigslist was still alive.
But guess what? You don't need Craigslist anymore. eBay Marketplace,
That's
Facebook
correct.
Marketplace.
That's correct.
OfferUp.
Right.
It's still the same game.
Wow.
This is all I was doing. I'm gonna make a long story short because
we
this
give
is good.
game to people. No,
Yeah,
go ahead,
but
give
this
it to
is
them.
good game for
Look
people,
right there and
right?
give it to
This
them.
is good game for people because the hustle is still there. I'll get every morning and every night before I went in the bathroom to brush my teeth, I went into the office and I jumped on Craigslist. And because if you remember, Craigslist was different. The technology wasn't up to par. So you only was able to see the last 100 posts. If you spend a lot of time, you couldn't filter.
Right.
You couldn't go on there and say, I only want to see couches.
Right.
Or I only want to see size 13 Jordans. You couldn't do that. So you had to look through the list of what people posted over the last 8 or 10 hours, right?
That's correct.
So that's why it had to be a religion for me to get on there in the morning and at night where I can see what people just posted. So I would go on there and look for specific posts. I have to move within 24 hours. I need to sell everything in my apartment. I'm being relocated, right? I just kicked my boyfriend out and I want all his stuff gone as fast as possible. We have to close this office and all this furniture is free.
Wow.
I looked for specific stuff like that, deals.
Right.
People that that needed what they call fire sales.
That's correct.
I only look for fire sale products. I literally didn't have a card in, so I was borrowing people vehicles. Man, come pick me up. I need to go pick up this weight set I just bought off Craigslist. Like that was one of the first things that I actually bought. This girl that kicked her boyfriend out, and she wanted all this stuff gone ASAP. Right. Whatever somebody was willing to pay, and they was willing to pick it up. So his weights, his TV, his clothes, anything that he had in the house, she wanted it gone ASAP. Before she got off work, she wanted it gone. And I went and bought all this stuff for maybe a couple $100. And then I relisted the stuff on Craigslist because I got time, right?
Right.
She was panic selling it, fire selling it. I got time. I listed the weight sales on there, $500. I listed his couch, his TV,
Wow.
and I maximized, right?
Wow.
So I just kept doing that and repeating, doing that. It was a guy that was in the military. He was getting shipped out. He was living downtown on Prospect. A lot of these I still remember because I made a lot of money from him.
Right.
But he needed to sell all his stuff in his apartment. And I went down there and bought almost everything in the apartment and loaded it up in the U-Haul. And he was gone. Then I went and put it in my garage and resold everything a little at a time, right? One of the biggest licks I made, people probably don't know what a grease trap is, but you have to have a grease trap in any restaurant.
Right.
This was a very unique grease trap. You only see it in restaurants like Cheesecake Factory. Major, the grease trap was a $20,000 grease trap. That's how much it cost. It was a major piece of equipment. I ended up, a guy that worked, he was a construction guy that built Cheesecake Factory, right? Just so happened, when they were building it, they ordered the wrong grease trap. It wouldn't work. Well, the management team told him, just get rid of it. Take it, you can have it. He took it and took it home and put it in his garage. It sat there for 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
So one day his wife listed it on Craigslist because she said she was tired of parking in the driveway. She wanted to start parking in the garage. So all this stuff in the garage needed to be sold. And I seen the grease trap and I did the research. I'm like, man, this is a $20,000 piece of equipment. So I went over there, make a long story short, I bought it.
How
She
much?
like $500.
Wow.
$500. She said, well, let's hurry up and do the deal before you get home from work. Because he just told me to start selling stuff.
Right.
And I don't really know the value of it, but I'm going to sell it. I bought it for $500. I sold that grease trap for $6,500. I relisted on Craigslist. I sold it to a church in New York. I still got the thank you card.
Wow.
I'll never forget it. They said I saved the church. They was putting a kitchen into the church, and they had to put a grease trap in there, and they had to get this big grease trap.
And they knew it was $20,000.
They had a budget.
Wow.
And I was able, they said I was God sent because I was able to sell them this grease trap on this price. And I'll never forget the deal because they was like, well, how do we do the deal? We're in New York, you in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
I'm like, you
Back
got to
then, that
trust
was
me
different. That's
because
true.
I'm not going to send the grease trap without the money.
Right.
And they said, well, we're going to pray on it and we'll follow up the next day. And the guy said, listen, we have a good feeling on your spirit. We prayed on it, and we're going to trust that you're going to do the right thing. We're going to wire you this money, and we're going to trust that you will send it. I said, I am going to send it. And they sent the $6,500, and I went and packed up the grease trap and sent it to New York.
Wow.
And I still got the postcard in my office right now, the thank you card that they sent me, and about 10 people from the church signed it.
Wow.
But I made $6,000 profit. You know what I mean? So that was one of the things. I bought a Cherokee one time, a vehicle, drove it for about a month. But as soon as I bought it, I relisted it on Craigslist, and I drove it until it sold. I made about $6,000 on that. It was a lady that bought it for a boyfriend. He had caught her cheating, and she just wanted to sell it.
Wow.
And I bought it.
Straight hustling.
Straight hustling. And then I bought a cargo van for $2,200 on there. I'll never forget a red cargo van. I called it Lil Red. It was Big Red, then I bought something bigger. It turned Lil Red. I put 250,000 miles on that cargo van. I kept it for 10 years. I just got rid of it about 5 years ago. So that was, now I can move more efficiently.
Okay.
Buying stuff off Craigslist so now I can offer delivery.
Okay.
So when you buy the couch for me, I can deliver it for another $75.
So you was on it.
I made my first $60,000 off Craigslist in my first less than 6 months, probably 5 months coming home.
Coming
from
out the
prison.
joint. Wow.
That's how I made my money. And I parlayed that into opening up my first restaurant, which was Angie's at 7804 Carnegie.
So let's stay on that point. Because we way over time, but
Yeah.
you good.
Yeah.
That's where you ran into some issues there, right? I think, is that the one where you got into an incident and got shot at that particular restaurant?
That was years later.
That was years later?
No,
It wasn't that restaurant, was it?
No. That was Zanzibar, Shaker Square.
That was at Shaker Square.
Yeah,
You know, I
Zanzibar.
always thought, And this is why I had thought. I had thought it was the one on Carnegie
Yeah,
because
no.
that's why I fear you wasn't taking cash there.
Yeah, no.
No. So why don't you take me back since I done bought it up now?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
tell me
yeah,
about
yeah.
what happened. You had one of your restaurants, Zanzibar,
yeah.
which is a restaurant that you eventually ended up owning and getting up.
I actually opened it. I created Zanzibar. I sold it years later, and then I bought it back.
You know, I'm messing up my little order. So
Yeah,
I'm going to go back because I want you to go back in your order because we're going to get this Zanzibar.
All right, so let's just name them real quick. Let's
Yeah.
get the business out the way. So I started with the Urban Closet.
That's correct.
My first Angie's inside the Millennium. Then the Millennium closed. I closed it. Then I opened up the Urban Closet. I opened up 2 Urban Closets, one on Lakeshore, one on Chagrin. Then I opened up Carolinas, and then Evolutions, the lounge. Then I went to prison, came home. I did 5.5 years. I came home and I started selling clothes on Craigslist. Then I opened up my first Angie's at 7804 Carnegie, across the street from Hot Sauce Williams, right? And across from Lancers. So it was 4 black restaurants on that block at that time.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
Angie's, Hot Sauce Williams, Lancers, and there was an Italian restaurant called Badario's, or right across from Lancers. So I had that there for about a year. Then I moved to 39th and Superior.
Okay.
And then I opened up Lee Harvard Angie's.
That's correct.
Then I opened up
that
Angie's in Las Vegas.
Wow.
Then I opened up right off the Strip. Then I opened up, 20 minutes from the Strip, but you can see the Strip from the Angie's. Then I opened up Zanzibar on Shaker Square, right next to the movie theater. And then I opened up Stone Town, downtown, on Prospect, where Zanzibar is at now. Then I opened up, me and my brother had a place called Sunshine Cafe on Kinsman in the Burton Bell Car Plaza, right next door.
Really?
Yeah, it was called Sunshine Cafe in Cornucopia.
That was you?
Well, yeah, that restaurant, Sunshine Cafe.
didn't know
that
that.
was me and my brother, Sean.
Man, I used to go there. Y'all used to do smoothies and
Smoothies and wraps.
Yeah, I used to go there and get smoothies and wraps.
That was me and Sean.
See how you saying that? People don't even be knowing that.
Yeah.
And because they had a kitchen in there.
Yeah,
Wow.
had a little kitchen.
Okay.
So we had that. Then I changed Stone Town to Zanzibar. Then I opened up another Angie's on Emory and Warrensville.
I remember that one.
Jezebel's Bayou on Larchmere.
That's you?
Yeah, that was me and my partner Mozzie.
Okay.
Yeah, but I created the name, the concept, and
I remember
everything.
that. I
Yeah,
remember
Jezebel's Bayou.
Yeah.
Trying to think. I know I'm missing some, but that's the closest that I can come to remember and everything. And then I sold Zanzibar, and me and my brother opened up the Cleveland Breakfast Club, then the Vegan Club.
Go there all the time.
Yeah, they still open. we celebrating 5 years this year.
Oh, okay.
The Vegan Club and the Breakfast Club, 15 years at Zanzibar. Then I bought Zanzibar back 4 years after I sold it. And since then, I acquired 2 restaurants in Columbus called Barrel and Boar.
Oh.
Yep, one in Gahanna, one in downtown Columbus.
Okay.
Smoked barbecue, that's the specialty.
Okay.
What else I got? That's it. So right now,
what you got coming in the future?
So right now we have 5 Angie's. 4 is open. The 5th is opening this weekend on 123rd and Superior.
Did you mention the one up on in South Euclid?
I just opened that one, so that's what I was going to say. 5 Angie's right now. 79th and Carnegie, Leon Harvard, Emory and Green, Cedar and Green Road, and 123rd and Superior.
Okay.
2 Zanzibar, Shaker Square, downtown, Cleveland Breakfast Club, Vegan Club, the Barrel and Boars in Columbus, 2 Barrel and Boars, and now I'm opening up an upscale seafood based restaurant in Shaker Square. So that'll be open hopefully within the next 3 to 4 months.
Oh, yeah, keep us posted on that, man.
Yeah.
What you doing
so
in Atlanta?
That'll be 12 restaurants.
And what you got going in Atlanta? You doing anything?
I'm not. I was opening up a restaurant in Atlanta, but I just seen how hard it was to, this is Cleveland is my home.
Yes.
Cleveland is, where I do what I do. Atlanta, I would have been stressing myself out. I want to just save Atlanta to just enjoy life and just live. It's over. It's so many of me in Atlanta, I'm like, why go down there and fight with them people?
There's only one of you here,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you might as well
yeah.
keep
So,
doing what you're doing here.
So
You're doing a
I'll
great
do
job
me
at it here.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question as it relates to, and I got maybe two more questions for you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you out of here. How do you maintain all of those restaurants? Because you said it yourself, and in the lesson of this, I'm hoping people get a chance to hear how we talk about how the father and mom, in both cases here, are the matriarchs of what takes place
Yeah.
and what's going. Father is the driving force of making sure business goes well and that kind of thing, and hustling and fighting. And the mom is the business portion of keeping the business strong, providing a service that helps the business grow. And in your particular case, that's food.
Yeah.
And in your particular case, you're doing management. How do you, and the reason why I'm asking the question is crazy and is long-winded is because your mom is the person, is Angie's soul food. And that means that everybody likes Angie's food.
Yeah.
How you maintain that same Angie quality of her food and don't worry that, oh, the Angie's in South Euclid don't taste like the, I know you done heard that 1,001 times when you be doing it. So how, from a business standpoint, how do you take that when you hear that, and how do you try to maintain to make sure it's all the same?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is, how do I run as many businesses I run? Because I didn't mention my real estate company, which is my passion. 3 Black
You know what?
Nights.
I forgot about that. You know what?
It's funny. You kind of brought me here for the real estate.
We didn't even talk about it. You have a whole real estate wing that we gonna talk about that too before you get out of here. I'm gonna let y'all hear business on that too.
Yeah. So the first thing I would say with the restaurants, how I'm able to do it, team. It's literally simple as that. And I take it a step further. Partnerships. My team are my partners.
Okay.
I don't really do business with anybody in terms of management unless I can consider them a partner.
Okay.
I empower everybody around me. Everybody. I don't want employees. My management team are my partners. That's how I look at them. That's how I view them. That's how I do business with them. I want to bring everybody up to my level and past my level. You know, you ever heard the saying, you know, your employer will never put you in a situation to become one of your neighbors. Well, I'm the total opposite. I focusly and I'm intentional about making all my people become my neighbors or move in better neighborhoods. I want to empower everybody because I'm not a greedy person. I've learned greed will kill you and hurt you. If you spread it around, it'll come to you. So my mindset is trying to get 100% from 12 different restaurants. If I get 20 or 30 or 40 or 50% from 12, I'm good. And leave the other 50, 60, 70% on the table for my partners, my operating partners, because they doing the work. They doing the grunt work, right? I've been there, I've done that. So now that's how I'm able to grow to the level that I've grown to because I do business with partners. That's as simple as that. And in terms of consistency of food, that's something that I had to learn. It took a long time. But the reason I do that, because I named a restaurant, so I really have 13 restaurants because one of them is a commissary. And what we do at the commissary is that's where we produce the mac and cheese, collard greens, the candy yams for all the Angies, the peach cobbler, apple cobbler, and then we ship it to the restaurants every day.
Really?
So the only thing that's actually cooked in the restaurant daily is the gravies and the proteins, the fried chicken, the fried pork chops, and different things.
That's how you maintain that.
Yeah.
Mom in the commissary?
No. My mother.
Mom's like cooking.
Yeah, my mother. She makes desserts, cook cakes like twice a week.
Okay.
She goes to the restaurant. That's what keeps her active. Every Wednesday and Saturday, she in the restaurant, Carnegie, cooking desserts and really just cakes and pies. She do bean pie, which is my favorite dessert. She do and cakes. That's her thing. You know, she always challenging herself to do something different. So if she can't stand at the stove and do cooking, she'll sit down and do cakes and give people direction, put it in the oven, pull it out the oven. So that's what she do. So she still do dessert. So every Wednesday and Saturday, I'm looking forward to going home and seeing the fresh dessert sitting on the island. You know what I mean? 'Cause my mother's been living with me for about 12 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, 12 years.
All right, that's excellent.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah, for sure.
I'm glad to hear that, man, and I'm glad to know it's your mom. It's like I done been to so many of your establishments, not even knowing they're your establishment, not knowing that was your mom, and the connection, man. And
Her
I'm
sister
just really
had
glad to know that's good.
Yeah, her sister had a popular restaurant too called Mrs. T's Soul Food on Kinsman.
Oh,
So
Kinsman.
anybody in that Mount Pleasant area, Lee Harvard, Kinsman area, they know who Mrs. T's is. So that was her sister.
Okay.
And she had a very popular restaurant too. So I've been around this, man. I got so many uncles and aunts that also own businesses on both sides of my family, my father's side and my mother's side. So being an entrepreneur, I've never had a job as an adult in my life. I've never punched a clock as an adult in my life.
Wow.
And I've only had 2 jobs under the age of 18. I worked at Jogger Lake for about 2 months, and I worked at the Brown Stadium for about 3 hours.
So you never had a job.
That's it.
That's
Never.
awesome.
I've only worked for myself.
Let me ask you this question, and we brought you on the show because you're an entrepreneur and you just interesting. My thing is trying to bring on interesting people, and you're very interesting just in your story, and it just takes up a lot of time. We didn't get a chance to get on this side of your business, but we got to tell the folks you are also a real estate mogul. You have real estate. Tell the folks what you're doing in the real estate market.
A lot, man. A lot. I own a lot. I think I'm up to about 130 doors in Cleveland, mostly commercial properties. I used to do mostly residential. Now I start probably 6-7 years ago. I started focusing on commercial. So I own a lot of commercial plazas.
Okay.
So I own both sides of Carnegie, 79th and Carnegie. The Angie's, I own that building.
Okay.
The building across the street where I was at, where Lancers was at, where Midtown Auto was labeled 78 was at. I own that building, 12,000 square feet building. I own 9 buildings on Buckeye. I own 3 buildings on Lee Road. I owned a 63-room motel myself. I sold it a couple of years ago. I owned a convent. I sold it in Cleveland Heights. I own the plaza.
Who you sell the convent to? The church?
No, I bought it from somebody that bought it from the church, and I sold it to a nonprofit organization.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And the motel, I sold it to a nonprofit organization also. Yeah. Own a bunch of plazas.
You did that group home stuff too when you're involved with Kevin.
I had a
and
group home.
Group homes and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I had a 13-room group home, 2 apartment buildings on 140 something in Kinsman. Yeah, I sold it.
And what I liked about you that really sparked me to get you back, I saw you and I'm gonna make sure I get his name. His name Beyond.
Beyond. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you and Beyond. Y'all were doing those classes at your restaurant. Y'all still do
free
those
classes? We're gonna start it back up. You know, it was seasonal. You know, because we like to do it outside on the patio.
Were they successful for you?
Very successful. The first one, we had a couple hundred people. Half of them was standing in the rain.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's really a.
Why don't you tell them what it is?
Yeah, so it's just something. You know, Beyond has classes that he do more formal. That he charge people to come in, and that's fine. And I try to assist with that every chance I get because you know he should get paid for this information. But just, I mean, it's both on our heart too. Sometimes just want to, everybody can't afford what he charges. You know what I mean? But we want to make sure that we're giving people the information. You know what I mean? We don't want the money to chase them away for getting to the bag, getting to the money. But sometimes you get a better turnout when you actually charge people. But so we just decided to do these real estate events. And every event, we have a different topic.
That's correct.
The first one we did was title companies. Like everybody that's in real estate or to want to get in real estate, they don't really know what title companies actually do and how they play a part in your real estate journey. So we actually brought in the largest title company in the state of Ohio, Ohio Real Title. I have a relationship with the owner, Ryan, because I do so many deals. I asked him to come in and just answer people questions and give people knowledge and information on what title companies do and how they can help people on their real estate journey. So that was the first class. Then the next class, we brought in my attorneys. Me personally, I have 3 attorneys that I work with on the regular. I literally talk to all 3 of my attorneys on the regular throughout the month. But I have one attorney I talk to daily because I have so much going on. So she's my corporate attorney. Then I have a real estate attorney. And then I have my estate planning attorney that handles my trust, my wills, anything relating to after death. Or just making sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do while I'm alive.
That's correct.
Because I'm always buying and selling businesses, always reinvesting. I always have to update my estate planning. So we brought people in, and you know what it costs to ask some attorneys some questions about anything. So as a favor, because I do so much business with my attorneys, I ask them to come in and just answer any questions that people might have about anything. So we invited them in, and that was another class we did. So that's what we'll do. So every class is spare the moment, not really planned, loosely. I wanted to feel like just friends getting together and powwowing about whatever. So the next one, we don't know what'll be the basis of the class, but we'll do it on the patio at Zanzibar or the new restaurant, bring people in, and you just ask them questions, see how we can help you be on your way.
I was following Beyond, and I thought he was really doing a good job with the real estate, and I've been following. He be working out, man. Working out. Man. I was like, that dude is in
that's
shape.
His love. That's his love.
I was like, that's the wrong dude to run up on if you think you're gonna run up on him.
But
I think he does a really good job of that. And then when I saw him team up with you, I was trying to get my daughter because she's a real estate agent.
Okay.
And I was telling her, like, you really should go check out this class.
She a real estate agent here?
Yeah.
I think I might have crossed. I think I met her and she told me.
Kennedy is her name.
It rings a bell at a real estate event.
Yeah,
I think she told me
Yeah, and she's been around and I've been trying to get her, but I love what you guys were doing with that.
Yeah.
I think y'all did a bus ride with everybody, didn't y'all?
Well, that's Beyond's program. He called it what's the name?
Something he took people around Cleveland.
Yeah, he's been doing that for years. It's called
it's a catchy name to it.
It's a catchy name. So he'll bring people in from all around the country and outside the country and give them, it's a full day of real estate, and he'll take them on multiple buses sometimes and take them around to actual projects and let them see the process.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for a while.
So that's another one of your guys, man. We really love to get him on that so he can educate folks. So please let us know. My last question I got for you, and then I'm gonna let you finish with a closing remarks to the camera. But I know the incident that took place where you had got into someone that shot you in one of your business. I want you to take us back to what happened that day. And then my last question to you is, going through that situation and how it ended, I want you to just tell me, did it change and how it might have changed your perception on business, life, individuals, the motherfucker who did it, all of that. Give me that.
Sure. So make a long story short, I had Zanzibar, Shaker Square at that time and other businesses, but that's where I spent majority of my time. My main office was there. That's where I literally did all my real estate and everything. Me and my assistant met there. So I was out of operations. Like, I didn't work in the restaurant necessarily at that time, but because my office was there, I was there all the time. This one particular evening, a beautiful night in June, 2017, I was cleaning out my office, and I had all these boxes packed up that I needed to take home to get out the office. And around 10:30, I usually leave. The restaurant closes at 11, but I was headed home. And on my way, I left, told everybody I was gone, and I walked out the front door. And on the way to my car, it was just one of them beautiful nights. It was still like 80 degrees outside at 10:30 at night. I'm like, you know what? Here, let me check the weather. If it's not going to rain, I'm going to go and pack these boxes up in my truck tonight, just in case when I get home, if I don't feel like taking them out, they'll be cool. If I don't feel like doing it once I take the long drive home. And the weather was going to be clear, no rain. So I got in my truck, which I usually park on Shaker Boulevard, and I went around the corner and pulled to the back door of the restaurant. I jumped out my truck, walked in the front door, walked back in. There was a busboy working that night. I said, hey, come to my office and help me grab these boxes. I want to put them in my truck. I immediately walked to the office, opened up the door, told him to grab that box. I'll grab this one. When I walked out of the office heading towards the back door, I'll never forget this. The busser, the young man, stopped and said, "Hey, Mr. Akeem, where are you parked at?" I said, "I'm at the back door, but wait, let me go out the door first." Which is crazy when you look back at it, right? I mean, if you have any perspective on life and have any belief in some things are meant to be, you know, things that happened in my life, I'll be the first to tell you I have all the evidence in the world that things were meant to be to a certain degree. I had the box in my hand, and if you know what a panic bar is, that's on commercial doors.
Yeah, I hit that.
Yep. I used the box to push the door open. The young man was standing behind me. When I kicked the door open, it was a guy in all black with a mask standing there with the gun. And he put the gun in my face and he was shaking. Told me to put my hands up. You know what it is. Put your hands up. Me, from where I'm from, how I was raised, you fight. You never lay down under no circumstances.
And you know my dumb butt sitting over here saying, that motherfucker's shaking.
Yeah, he already, I mean, he's shaking.
He's shaking.
But whether he's shaking or not.
He's shaking, so it's like,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
I ain't gonna let you rob.
Yeah,
and you like you scared.
Yeah. I came from a place, man, you fight till you can't fight anymore. I took the box, I threw it up against him because he was standing right in front. I threw it up against him thinking that would throw him off, and I turned around to run. And at that time, I'm locked and loaded, keeping it real. So I just needed to get to it, right? So I turned around, told the young man, run. He took off one way. In this hallway, when you come in the back door, is literally, you can go to the immediate right, you can go to the left, you can go straight to veer to the right, or you can veer to your left to go down the stairs to the basement. So I made the immediate right, but soon as I started taking the steps to run, he started shooting. He shot at me 3 times, but he hit me twice. And soon as I turned, he hit me in my leg, twice in my leg. So it hit my sciatic nerve, and that's what paralyzed me immediately. So when it hit me, it dropped me. You ever seen I tell people, it's funny when you look back at it, in the cartoon, when the Road Runner, when he's running, and his body might get cut in half, but the top of his body is still running, but the bottom of his body is stuck.
Right.
That's what it felt like.
Wow.
Like physically to me, I was running, and it felt like I was running, but I wasn't.
Right.
I stopped. But my body was
like,
still,
and keep going.
And you got to think from a physical perspective, my adrenaline was through the roof.
Right.
So when I turned, I couldn't run, so I just collapsed and hit the floor. And like just like a flop. And when I hit the floor, immediately, again, where I'm from, I've been through this before. That was my 3rd time being shot.
Jesus.
Yeah. I hit the floor and flopped. The first mindset is play dead. Right?
Right.
So when I hit the floor, it's taking me everything in my, imagine your adrenaline is on 1,000, but you trying to play dead. So sweat was just pouring off of my body. So when I hit it, I wear glasses. My glasses went this way, and I hit the ground, and I'm trying to hold position because I don't know if the guy is on top of me. I don't know if it was other people with him.
Right.
I don't know what the situation. I just know they're coming to rob the restaurant, right? So I hit the floor, and I hear them, but I hear people in the restaurant also screaming and hollering because we still open. There's customers in the restaurant.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's staff there.
I thought this was afterwards.
No, it's staff there. I left the restaurant and came right back.
Wow.
Yeah, so I hear people screaming and hollering. I hear my manager, come back there, Akeem. She see me laying down, and she see all the blood. She started crying. I said, she ran back out. Akeem has been shot. So I'm laying there, and I don't really know I don't know if the guy is in the building. I don't know if he's in the basement where we keep the safe at.
Right.
But there's no money in the safe. He don't know 90% of our money is credit card sales.
That's correct.
The most cash that we make on the best night is a couple $1,000s. And this was a Wednesday night.
Right.
We might have made $1,200 in cash, right? So I'm laying there, and I'm holding position. I see the shells, the bullet that's went through me, with blood, bathed in blood, right in front of me. They went through me and they sitting there and they
Really?
smoking.
What?
Yeah, so I get to thinking, my mind is racing. I'm like, I'm trying to really think about what's happening in my body. How do I feel? What's going on? I didn't feel like I was going to die. So I took, a good exhale in that, but I felt like I might be paralyzed the rest of my life because I couldn't feel nothing below my belly button.
Wow.
So I'm like, I couldn't move my legs. So I'm like, you know what? That's okay. I can deal with that. At least I'm gonna live to see my daughter graduate. Because at that time, my daughter was like 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, and I'm like, that was my first thought. Like, at least I want to see my daughter grow up. I want to see my grandkids grow up. They was all like around the same age, and now I'm laying on this floor waiting. It's minutes, but it felt like an eternity,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Cause I'm starting to think about like, damn, they just mopped the floor, so I smelled the
Right.
smelled the floor cleaner.
Right.
I'm like, damn, I'm gonna die on this dirty ass kitchen
Crazy
floor,
stuff come across
looking
your
up
mind,
under
right.
this stove and deep
Right.
fryer. Like,
Right.
when the last
They
time
didn't
they
even
cleaned
clean
this?
this.
Yeah,
Right.
they ain't cleaned up. So literally, I was thinking about
Right.
that,
I
man.
got you.
And next thing you know, one of my employees came in. He come in locked and loaded. He like, King, what's up? You all right? I'm like, yeah, what? Is anybody else in the building? He like, I don't know, but are you okay? I'm like, man, I'm cool, but where's the guy at? He like, I don't know. Did you see where he went? I'm like, no, bro. He might be in the basement. He like, all right, let me go see. So he ran in the basement to go see. Then he ran around the restaurant a little longer. And I said, all right, if he might not be here, but just go ahead and leave because he locked and loaded. I know he don't supposed to be,
locked,
right?
all right.
So I'm like, I'm good, man. I felt like I'm gonna live. I'm just waiting on the ambulance. He said, all right, the ambulance is on the way, man. Just stay calm and you're gonna be good, bro. If you need us, just yell. So he left. Next thing you know, the ambulance came in, the manager came in, they snatched me up and took me to the hospital. So to make a long story short, I found out later that it was an ex-employee. So he was only working for us for 2 weeks. He had got terminated for no call, no show. So he planned on coming to rob the restaurant, but that was his background. When we hired him, I mean, most of my staff is convicted felons.
Right.
I believe in second chances. So we hired him, brought him on, and he planned that Wednesday was the only night this particular manager closed. She was only like 5 feet. Petite as I don't know, get out.
So he was planning on
He was
doing her.
planning on robbing her. He was planning on waiting outside until she went to go open up the back door to let the dishwashers take the garbage out. I surprised him. He was outside watching. He seen me leave. He said this in court.
Wow.
He was planning on robbing the restaurant, but didn't know I was gonna be there. He watched me leave, but didn't see I came back. You know what I mean? So when I opened the door, I startled him. He was expecting her to open the door. And when I opened the door, he didn't know what to do. So later, we had it all on camera. When he shot me and I fell, all he could see was my feet. He came in, and when the back door slammed, it startled him because he didn't know if he was locked in. So you can see him like trying to creep up the wall to try to creep up on me to see, what I'm doing. And then when the door slammed, he jumped. And he went and pushed the door open, and he was able to open it. Then he came back, and then he started thinking because he lost control of the whole space. The restaurant is like 7,500 square feet.
Wow.
We got 20 rooms in there, and there was people there.
Wow.
So now he lost control. So he went on and went back out the door. So he ain't getting nothing. He had just left.
How you find out it was an ex-employee?
Cause make a long story short, I
People
do
talk.
I do what I do,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
but he had got caught in another robbery, robbing a Subway in Euclid, like months later, 6 months later, got in a shootout with Euclid police. And in his negotiation plea, they have this thing, I forgot the legal name of it, but when you're negotiating a deal, you have to tell them everything that they caught. You have to admit to everything they caught you for and the things that they didn't catch you for. Because if you don't, they can come back and charge you later.
So
if they find out about it.
that you was involved in something you didn't make.
Exactly.
Wow.
So in his negotiation for that, he told them that he was the one
Ain't
that
that
robbed me.
something?
Yeah. That was part of his plea agreement. He like, oh yeah, by the way, that Zanzibar incident, I was the one that robbed that guy and shot him too.
What?
Yeah, yeah. So in the negotiation, he didn't get one extra day for my shooting because he had already negotiated his deal.
So let me ask the question this way. How does that, I'm going to go back to my two questions. How did that change your way of how you do business?
The way I do business, I wanted to go out my way. I spent a year rehabbing in a wheelchair that I couldn't walk. Thank God, after a year, I was able to at least walk again. My leg from the knee down on my right leg is still partially paralyzed, so I walk with a limp, right? During that time, I'm the captain of the ship. So if anybody was going to get hurt, it should have been me. Right? I accepted that very early on. Thank God it didn't happen to none of my employees, especially Christine was the manager that was supposed to work that night. I was very, very happy that it wasn't her that went out that door, right? And it was me. I'm the captain of the ship. It's my business. I should be the one that goes down if it goes down, right? I spent a lot of time thinking about how to make sure that never happened to any of my employees again. So the areas that I felt like that was a little more riskier, like Angie's on Carnegie, which that location, not that particular location, but the Angie's in this area have been robbed multiple times. How do I make sure that we never get robbed again? Take money out of it.
Take cash out of it, right.
That's the only reason I came up with that strategy. If we don't have no cash, what is it to rob? Some food? Well, if you're going to rob us for food,
we're going to give you that.
We're going to give you that anyway if you're that desperate, right? 90% of the money at Zanzibar's and Breakfast Club and Vegan Club and all the other restaurants was credit cards anyway. We don't really have no cash. You know what I mean? All the Angie's now. Back then, when I made Angie's on Carnegie a cashless situation, we was about 50-50. Cash compared to credit card. But now, even at the Angie's that I accept cash, we're still 85, 100. We get a couple $100 a day in cash. Everybody's using credit cards now. So it was the best thing that I ever could have done for the business, you know, and to make sure that I keep my staff safe. So for me, I decided to sell Zanzibar a year later just because I spent so many years hustling and grinding and building what I built. I wanted to enjoy it more. I bought the house in Atlanta. I started spending time down there. You know, I started doing more real estate. Just that's what changed for me. Enjoy life more, man. Riding my bike. I'm an avid bicycle rider. That was one of my biggest goals. If I'm able to ride my bike again, that'll be a huge blessing. You know, after coming out the wheelchair for a year. And I was able to do that. I'm not as efficient as I used to be, but I can ride. I can ride 20 miles. You know, I can't do it at the speed that I used to do it at. So that was the blessing. I just decided to bring more balance into my life. But now it don't seem like the balance is there anymore because I'm back to grinding as hard as I was when I was 35 again.
Did you buy you a Huffy?
No, I got a collection of bicycles now. Don't get it. I'm an avid bicycle rider.
Oh, you say you still got your dad's bike, right?
I still got my father. It's just for show, though. It's for show. I got it on the wall in my garage.
My last question for you. Yeah. How did that shape your thoughts on the fellow man, our fellow brother? This happened to you. And you know, but you done told me you done got shot. This your what, third time?
That was my third time being shot. Yeah, that was my third time being shot.
So what after it was all said and done, what's your thoughts on our fellow man and our brothers out there?
I still love people, human beings to the end. I still respect everybody. You know, I'm gonna be honest, coming from where I came from, you know, you don't trust nobody 100% but God. So I was already in that mindset.
Right.
But the thing is, because of who I am and what I've been through, I'm a person that I know that everybody deserves a second chance. Almost everybody deserves a second chance, a third chance. I've had 3 or 4 chances. And I know it's never too late to turn your life around. I have a lot of people that know me from then, and they'll tell you they would have never thought in a million years that I would have turned my life around the way that I have. My brother Sean, same thing. They would have thought in a million years that he couldn't have turned his life around. So I know from personal experience that almost anybody if given a second and third chance or a fourth chance or a fifth chance, can really still turn it around, you know, because we was the worst of the worst. I mean, we were so bad, we were crime brothers. You know, when we were doing prison time, we were already preparing for our next bid.
Wow.
Think about that, bro.
Wow.
We were mad that people wasn't sending us the right stuff in our boxes, our clothing boxes and our food boxes. So the first thing we did when we came home from prison is went shopping for our next boxes so when we go back to prison.
Wow.
You got to be really mentally screwed up to know that you're going back to prison. The only thing is how long, if we make it, we going to be dead or we going back to prison. But we're going back to prison because we going back out there to commit crimes. You got to be really screwed up. So I know how screwed up I was. I know how screwed up he was. But all the people that we've met in our 15-year journey since we've been home, they would never know in a million years that we've ever even been to prison, let alone that was criminals that can commit the crimes that we've committed unless they hear these stories. And the only reason that I'm okay with telling these stories because I want to let people know that walked in our path, that been down the path that we were on at one point in time in our life. It's never too late to turn it around. It's literally never too late. I want to give them inspiration because we were the worst of the worst.
Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show. You gave me one of my Joe Rogan interviews. I know my team in there like, man, you said y'all was going to talk 45 minutes. I was like, man, he just kept going on. So we gave you a Joe Rogan interview. Joe Rogan, he get in there, and they talk for a little while. I want to thank you for coming on our show. But what we do when we end all our program, I'll give you this camera here to get a chance for you to just talk to the people and leave whatever last message you got that's on your heart that you want to give to the people. So take your time, say whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I go out my way to tell my story, to let everybody and anybody know it's never too late to turn it around and change your life. I am a prime example of that. I was the worst of the worst. Anything you can think of you, your brothers, your cousins, your uncles, your dad, if they're in prison right now, share my story to let them know it's never too late, but they got to be intentional about working on it. They have to want to change. They have to put in the work. I go to prisons all the time and speak, and the main thing that I'm telling guys, if you really want to change, you can't wait till you leave prison to start. You have to start while you're in prison because that's the real test. Being in prison, being around 99% of negativity, if you can change there, you can definitely do it on the streets. That's the easy step. So for me, that's the main thing. You can change, you can turn it around. I'm a very, very successful businessman in my own right, and I'm proud to say that I made the changes. I put in the work to do that. I've empowered a lot of my team members. I've inspired and helped and motivated so many other entrepreneurs. That's the work that I put in. That's part of the profits that I get from putting in the work. But you know my story. Check out my businesses, Zanzibar's, the Breakfast Club, the Vegan Club, Angie Soul Cafe, Barrel and Boar in Columbus, soon to be in Cleveland also. Also, Zanzibar will soon be in Columbus. The Breakfast Club will soon be in Columbus. Maybe the Vegan Club too. That's the plan, to keep expanding this with my team. I got a great team. Without them, I wouldn't be as successful as I am in the restaurant business and in real estate too. I got a great team on that side too with my property managers and my contractors that I use on the regular. But it's never too late. If I can, plant that seed with anybody, just always know it's never too late.
Everybody, that's Akeem Africa. He came in and he dropped a lot of gems for everybody, and I hope you enjoy this program. When you look into the description, we're going to keep links to all his restaurants and all the places that you can go to visit and see what he's doing out there, and also information about his real estate endeavors that he's got going also. So till next week, we'll see you then. Peace.